God bless America. We beat the South Sudan. We fucking should have. South Sudan takes on the Americans after giving them a run for their money in the USA showcases earlier this month. A lot different result this time. Not a 1-point victory by Team USA, but a victory nonetheless. A victory that was more convincing, one that brought us a lot of different narratives around this team and around the potential that could result in what we all expect, Team USA winning the gold. So, Matthew, good performance by the Americans today, right?
Yes, exactly what we needed to convince us that this is a gold medal winning team.
Were you not convinced after their win previously against Serbia?
I don't even think I have to be convinced. And it's just a thing. I'm getting ready for next season, maybe, to be convinced about the Phoenix Suns. I was convinced once this roster was put together, they're going to win.
I was too.
That's when I was convinced.
That is valid, and it's expected that the Americans are going to win the gold. And I think that both of us are just excited to talk a little bit of basketball, and that's what we're going to do on the Suns Jam Session podcast. Nothing that we're going to talk about today is going to be mind-altering relative to Team USA, their roster construction, their rotation, their roster construction, anything of that nature. But it's good basketball conversation because that's what we do. We like to sit around and talk basketball, and here we are on the last day of July. And I almost want to hit you. I know it's gosh, it's early in the podcast, but let's do it.
You know what time it is.
Trivia time.
I will preface this that I just came back from Hula's. If you've never been to Hula's, I love that place, Matthew. You know I love that place, right?
I love that place.
It's so good. The food's so good. The drinks are so good. Had some Dr. Funks tonight. So I'm going to hit you with some random trivia time. I'm going to hit you with some deep level trivia time. You ready for this, Matthew?
Funkies. Yeah. I'm absolutely ready.
Dr. Funkus. Whose Sainthood Day is it today?
Sainthood Day, is it?
Yeah.
Whose Sainthood Day is it?
Yes.
What does that even mean?
It's the feast of which saint today? This is a Catholic question, right to lead off the podcast.
The feast of what saint? Saint Lucas.
No. It's Saint Ignatius of Loyola Feast Day. I just happened to look down at the date, and shout out to my pops. He went to Loyola Marymount University and used to always reminding me, and I used to always call him back when he was still alive on 7/31 every 7/31, and wish him a happy Saint Ignatius of Loyola Feast Day because he was really religious and was really into that. And I was actually born on Saint Ignatius of Antioch's Feast Day, October 17th. So he used to call me Iggy. That was my nickname growing up, Iggy.
Do you think both the pops right now are just sitting there complaining about something together?
Guaranteed.
You think so?
Guaranteed. They're like,
why? They're complaining, or they're watching the pod.
They're watching the pod and they're complaining.
Sure, yeah.
They probably this is the first time that they're watching the pod and they're not complaining. They're like, oh my God, finally a shout out to Saint Ignatius of Loyola.
Finally a shout out. Finally, a shout out to Dad and not my stepdad, my step-pep, Eddie Johnson.
Yeah. Finally a shout out to my real dad, Eugene Lissy, and John Voight Jr. But yeah, random tangent on trivia time. But like I said, I had a few Dr. Funks tonight. So we're going to have some fun tonight here on the Suns Jam Session. You're going to get a little intoxicated, John, on a Wednesday night because we're going to talk about Team USA versus South Sudan in the Olympics, what we saw, what observations we have, some rotation changes. And we might have a special guest on the podcast that we haven't seen since the end of the season. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you subscribe, rate, and review. It's not going to be Saint Ignatius of Loyola, just so you know.
Okay.
But subscribe, rate, and review wherever you happen to be consuming this podcast. If you happen to be on Apple Podcasts listening to this, leave us a 5-star review. It's August tomorrow, and we've yet to have a review on Apple Podcasts since like May. Come on, Jamsters.
That's disappointing.
Hurts my feelings.
Not doing their job out there.
We got to do more shout outs to saints and what day it is. Saint John the Baptist Day and such, right?
Yeah, Saint Dr. Funk.
The Saint Dr.
Oh,
Funk.
I'm sorry, you can't be a saint and a doctor. It's either Saint or Dr. Funk.
In fact, Saint Funk.
Yeah, there you go.
The feast day of Saint Funk. Well, it was a funky day for the Americans today. Not really, they won. Although they it was a game in the second half, but we'll get to that and plenty more here on the Suns Jam Session podcast. So if you get a chance, take a teeth cracking cold beer like I got here, pop it open. Ooh, that sounded crisp. Let's talk some basketball. No surprise here. The Phoenix Suns. I almost said the Phoenix Suns, Matthew. Team USA. The Phoenix Suns probably could have beat South Sudan today. Part of the Phoenix Suns. 2/5 of the starting rotation of the Phoenix Suns played today. One a starter, one coming off the bench. That starter being Devin Booker. That guy coming off the bench, Kevin Durant, beat South Sudan by a final score of 103-86 in the second game of Group C basketball in the Paris 2024 Olympics, which, of course, brings me to my first question.
Matthew, I've got to ask.
Listen, Matthew, I got to ask, okay? And I'll preface this with, this has got to be, from a viewership standpoint for NBC, probably one of the most watched basketball games today. I'm not saying in the totality of the Paris Olympics, but today, Team USA, not only because American people are tuning in and trying to see what's going on with Team USA, but people throughout the world know the names that are on that Team USA roster. Stephen Curry, LeBron James, Kevin Durant. And so you would think, for the love of Christ, sorry, say Ignatius of Loyola.
Excuse you.
You would think that they would have the pillbox squared away. So Matthew, for the first half of a quarter, where the fuck was the pillbox in this game?
Yeah, that was a question I had, and I thought it was something to do with the playback at the time. But I'm like, no, playback's pretty professional. They would have the score up there, and the score wasn't there. But luckily, we had Dwayne Wade, and who was he with announcing the game?
It's Ian Eagle's son. Ian Eagle,
really?
yeah, Ian Eagle, who does a lot of the college basketball and football games. His son, I forget his name. He was calling the game.
Yeah, pretty good job. A shout out the score every once in a while, but they did get it fixed quick. So luckily, it wasn't leading into the second. It wasn't
quick enough.
It was very strange for the Olympics, but they apologized over and over again. Sorry about the box score. Sorry about the technical difficulties, cutting off mics here or there. So it was a rough start. It was kind of a rough start for the USA team a little bit too. First half and second half. But I don't know if people are they calling out to watch this game? Are they taking lunches to watch this game? Or are they like me, where I kind of have just the phone on my desk, watching it at the corner of my eye? But what's really hard with playback, when I have it on my phone and I have my earbuds in, as soon as if someone comes in and I take my earbuds off, then the volume from the phone goes on. And I cannot do that. So the only way, if someone comes into the office, the only way I can get out of it without them actually knowing I'm watching a game, I have to take my phone and flip out of playback and just get out of there. Because otherwise it just comes on. So I don't have the same problem, but that was my issue. But I think more people are just at their desk, having their phone on in the corner, watching it with Jam Session, or just watching it by themselves.
Well, I think that's a great point that you bring up. On the Matthew, I gotta ask segment is, how is everybody watching these games in Paris? Everybody who's listening or watching this podcast is on a different time zone, or the majority of you are on a different time zone. We here in Phoenix, Arizona, I think we're about 8 hours, maybe 9 hours behind Paris. So the game today came on at noon. So are you watching it live, or are you utilizing streaming services to rewatch this at a later time? My guess is that's how the majority, at least on the American side, are doing so. Now, granted, if you're an East Coaster, it's 4 o'clock your time, 4 p.m., and you're like, okay, Wednesday afternoon, I'm going to log off work. I'm going to finish what I'm doing. I'm going to watch the game. But you could be somebody who works in a service industry, and hours of operation are completely different. So how you consume this content relative to the the Team USA's team is going to be completely different. And I think that's one of the things that I think I talked about this either on the last podcast or two ago, where I was talking about cutting the cord. Right? Like, based on streaming services and how they work nowadays, I've had DirecTV forever. I think it's like me and your mom are the only people who have DirecTV. My mom has, by the way. But with the capacity and the ability of the Peacock channel, you can literally just browse by sport. You can see highlights, you can watch replays, and you're going to watch it on your time, on your terms, which I think is fantastic. Because I'll never forget growing up when the games for Team USA were in Barcelona, and they were in Sydney and they were in Rio. You're watching them on different times because you're trying to watch them live because you want to know what's going on, because the ability of the Olympic Games to rebroadcast what occurred wasn't as great and wasn't as customizable as it is now. Now, that being said, I did watch this live. It happened at noon. I'm like, great. Lunch break starts at noon. I'm going to watch this from 12 to 1. And then and to anybody who watched this game along live with us on the playback.tv channel, thanks for doing so. I was very engaged on that. In fact, I had a colleague of mine, a former colleague of mine, retired today. And I drove to my old place of work and I went to his retirement party. And the whole way I had my phone on. I was listening to the game / watching it at red lights and commenting. And I was engaging with some of our jamsters that way, which was super fun to watch and experience this game that way. But we all watch these games in a very different and unique way. So how much of this game did you actually see? I guess that should be my question. Matthew, how much of this game did you see that we're about to talk about on the podcast?
A few things really quick. So I'm Kevin. PS is 3 a.m. Philippines.
Oh, what up, Kevin? He's a Sun's Planet podcast.
Oh, very, very cool. So is that a thing where you just wake up and you see the score, you're like, I'll look at highlights on Twitter, or else I'll just actually rewatch the game, or you just see the score, you just don't care anymore because it was basically
And that being said, like Kevin, like God, you're on like I need to come on your guys' podcast and talk about it with you because you're in the Philippines, so I'm sure you care about the U.S. team because there's members of the Phoenix Suns on it, but how much do you really care about the U.S. and how they're doing?
At work.
He was at work 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Hey, whoa, what a gangster. Kevin the slut. Way to go, bro.
We're going to get to know Kevin very well.
Yeah. And Creepy Crawly. Peacock.
Peacock, yeah. Are you sure? I don't believe him on that.
We got a 3-year-old in the crowd.
Yeah, always.
So how much of this game did you watch?
I didn't get to watch too much. It was in my ears. I was listening to it as much as I can. So that's how I know my highlights.
A lot of Dwayne Wade, huh?
A lot of Dwayne Wade, a lot of Bam Adebayo. No Joel Embiid, which was pretty nice.
What's Bam's full name?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me that. And I think he said it maybe 12 times, and I cannot remember. Yes. I think it's just me multitasking. Bam Monte. That's what it was. Yeah, over and over again. And what was the one thing he was saying? Like his pronouns are he and him?
That was last game.
That was the last game. So this time it's Bam Monte.
It was Bam. We'll talk about the subreddit stakeout.
He's making himself known. He's going to be here next year doing it, right?
I guess.
Yeah, he probably will.
I guess. Well, I'll tell you this. Again, bringing up the score, it was 103-86. A much different result than what happened when the USA played South Sudan. I believe it was in London as a part of their showcase series where essentially they played 5 warm-up games. And I think that those warm-up games were very valuable because there was a couple noticeable changes entering this game. Tatum and Anthony Davis got the start. It wasn't Drew Holiday. It wasn't Joel Embiid. So when they first rolled out there, from what you were listening and watching a little bit, I know you were on our playback.tv channel watching for a little bit at the very beginning. No Joel Embiid. Thoughts, Matthew?
No Joel Embiid at all. The whole game.
Didn't play a minute.
So I don't know if that actually hurts him going into next year. If he actually, because this is different than the Tatum thing. I think the last pod we had, I did say I want to see Anthony Davis, and I don't know if he really played Tatum at the 4-3 with LeBron James in there, but I want to see Anthony Davis and Tatum starting, and that's exactly what happened. So that's why the first game I wasn't too worried. I think it was just kind of playing with matchups. That's what they did. So that doesn't really affect me if I'm a Celtics fan as much. Like you miss the one game, if you're Tatum, you come and you start. Not a very good game by him. But if I'm Embiid, I start the first game, I look terrible. Jokic is basically owning me. And I think they basically played him because of his size, and he was basically useless. So now he didn't play today, and he's kind of sitting there. You kind of see the frustration, or maybe he's not. But I was going to ask you, like, what is worse? That or the way Tatum just didn't play the first game and how he came out and had a bad game, or that we did see Joel and just how bad he is, and now he's just not even playing. So I feel like he is a kind of a risk out there, and starting Anthony Davis was the right decision.
It was, and it's something that we noticed early on during the showcases that Anthony Davis should be the starting 5 for Team USA. he possesses a size, length, athleticism-ish, versatility for sure, that is ideal for FIBA basketball. Whereas Joel Embiid, due to his sheer size, is not somebody who can get out on perimeter defenders, and isn't somebody who came into the Olympics really looking like he was in shape. So the fact that he didn't play tonight or get any minutes, not let alone start, like he didn't play, period. I'm going to go to the same thing that we talked about in our last podcast relative to Team USA and Jason Tatum. Matchup dependent. The beautiful thing about playing South Sudan and only winning by 1 point just a couple weeks ago was the USA had a preview of what didn't work against this team. And what didn't work against this team, and kind of against every team right now with Team USA and Joel Embiid, is the fact that Joel Embiid doesn't look good against this kind of matchup. The South Sudanese team was a team that destroyed us from beyond the arc, so you needed somebody who could defend the perimeter. If you tried to blitz the perimeter, they would attack the interior, and you needed to have the athleticism and lateral quickness to defend the interior, and Joel Embiid didn't provide that. He'll be back again in the next game. I don't know if he'll be starting. And when we play the French, you bet your ass he's going to be in the game. This is funny to me because this is literally kind of the same conversation we had after game 1 when USA beat Serbia. We're like, Jason Tatum didn't play. That's kind of strange. Now we're like, Joel Embiid didn't play. That's kind of good. It might have been a good thing, but Joel Embiid will serve a purpose in this Olympic Games at some point. This team is so deep and can beat you in so many different ways that you just have to kind of pick and choose what those ways are. Tonight, Joel Embiid wasn't that way, Matthew.
No, and Steph Curry was definitely off tonight too. Or today, excuse me, was definitely off. So he wasn't the only one really to suffer, along with Jason Tatum just kind of struggling today. But mainly in the first game, everyone was just hitting on all cylinders, but Joel. So I think I'm just going to go the other way. I think this is a bigger issue than what the Tatum thing is, because I think him going to next year, he was already caught on a podcast talking about how Tatum won and he had like that super team. So he already is kind of making excuses and stuff. He has a team filled with Maxey and now Paul George, and you just don't have any more excuses, right? So there's a lot of pressure of this dude. And I think it kind of starts in the Olympics, right? Because he made the decision to play for US and not play for France. That's obviously not paying off right now. So I don't think he really cares. I don't think he gives a fuck. But when it comes to the media and it comes to everybody else, I think it just kind of does look bad. And we'll just see how it plays out, because my gut feeling, the way I'm feeling about this, I don't feel like it plays out very well in the Olympics.
I think it, like, again, there's a narrative behind it, but he doesn't care, nor should he, because the team is winning by 16 points or 17 points. Like,
exactly.
If this team's struggling, if they're having issues and Embiid is unproductive, it's a different conversation completely. It's the same conversation we had after this team won by only 1 point over South Sudan, right? So it's like either he doesn't play and there's a conversation about it, or he does play and it's poorly and there's a conversation about it. So I think it's something that the majority of people will agree, and it'll be a consistent narrative throughout all of the Olympic run for the American team is why the fuck is Joel Embiid here? Like, do we need him on this team? We never needed him on this team. I'm not saying Jaylen Brown to replace him would have been the right answer, but somebody out there to replace him would have been the right answer. I think that AD starting, having Bamonte, as fucking Dwayne Wade said ad nauseum today, as a backup is great. I've continued to say that Jason Tatum at the backup to the backup 5 and some small ball 5, I think would be productive. But on the flip of that, Jason Tatum did play today. Okay, now Jason Tatum started as well. 17 total minutes played, only had 4 points on 2 of 4 shooting, had 5 rebounds, had 2 assists, a block, a turnover. But this is where I find a little bit of humor in the fact that, you know, Bill Simmons must be happy, because it's almost so for those of you who listen to the Bill Simmons podcast, and obviously if you listen to this podcast, especially recently, I feel like I'm bringing this up more than often, is my thoughts.
If
My
we're not going to have a
thoughts-
long pod, we have to bring in Bill Simmons and kill 6 minutes or 7 minutes.
All right, here's my 6 minutes dissertation on what I think Bill Simmons thinks of what he's thinking about what I think of of what he's thinking. But I was thinking about this, and for those of you who were watching along back on playback today, you might have heard me mention some of this conversation. And I will say, like, if you don't watch the games on playback.tv and then go to Bright Side of the Sun's channel and watch along with us, it really is a good time. And I find it productive because as somebody who hosts a podcast like the Sun's Jam Session Podcast, it's where I start to kind of formulate some ideas about what I want to talk about on the podcast. And I was thinking about this today. I'm like, imagine that Matthew and I hosted a national NBA podcast, right? We would still talk extensively and through the lens of Suns fans because we're Suns fans. That's exactly what Bill Simmons does, right? Like, he acknowledges everything around the NBA. And some people, it's funny because I put out on Twitter some negative digs about Bill Simmons here and there, him bitching and moaning or being biased or anti-biased against Devin Booker and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, like, he's a Boston Celtics fanboy who got famous, started the Ringer, sold it to Spotify, multi-million-dollar deal. But at his core of being a human being, is a Boston Celtics fan. So he's going to talk about that. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I'm just going to look at it from the other side of it because I'm a Suns fan. I'm going to tell you what I think about it from a Suns fan perspective. But he has to be happy that Tatum is starting. And he has to be – we are blessed because the one thing – what is Bill Simmons doing right now, Matthew?
What is he doing?
Like, did you hear his pod on Sunday?
No, I did not. He's
not?
on leave, right? For like
Bingo.
2 weeks? Yeah.
Bingo. This is the time of year where he always takes a bunch of time off. The only thing he's doing right now is rewatchables. And by the way, he just did rewatchables, a 2-parter on Pulp Fiction. It's fucking amazing because I love that movie and I'm a Quentin Tarantino guy. Good. Yes, got to listen to it. But we were almost blessed because he didn't do a pod on Sunday, which means he didn't do a pod about all the Jason Tatum not starting and how great Jason Tatum is. And you know what? Jason Tatum started today, and we'll probably get a podcast tomorrow because Jason Tatum started. But at the end of the day, Jason Tatum wasn't ultimately effective in this game against the South Sudan team, nor did he really need to be. I think that, again, what he brings is a very specific skill set. I don't want to go too far into the Liam Neeson is he got a certain set of skills, but he definitely brings a different kind of vibe when he plays an international play, just like Devin Booker. He's going to give you the rebounds. Like I said, he had 5 rebounds. He had 2 assists. By the way, of those 5 rebounds, 2 of them were offensive rebounds. Only 2 of 4, 0 of 1 from beyond the arc. A lot of people were disappointed with his 4-point performance. But who cares? He helped this team win. He sacrificed of himself. And the thing about that I've noticed about Tatum is he's somebody who definitely sacrifices of himself to make the team better. And I'm okay with that because that's exactly what Devin Booker's doing.
He does, but there's so much drama behind it too with him. So if this was Booker, obviously this wouldn't be following him at all. There wouldn't be any kind of concern or anything. It would almost kind of be expected going into it because we didn't think that he would actually start over Anthony Edwards. We didn't know how many minutes he would actually play with this team because that's how I feel like maybe we undervalue him at times and how we just now we see how he is the glue and he can just do whatever he wants. Even today, like when you'll play the drop in a little bit, we'll talk about the stats, but today is a solid game. Made some big plays, got them the win because of it.
Do you want to talk Tatum or do you want to transition this into Devin Booker?
Let's go, Booker.
Big Dick Booker.
We are so good at what we do, the way we play off each other.
Oh, Big Dick Book, dude. So, yeah, I mean, the assists were there in the first half. He was moving the ball very well, wasn't shooting, but he was just making smart plays. He wasn't doing too much, and that's kind of what we expected, right? But then he came in the second half and kind of closed it out. He had like 1-3 in the second half, had an and one. So little plays here or there, but that's what we expected from him. The first game, I thought he was phenomenal. This game was a good game. But we kind of just thought he would kind of fall behind everybody else in a way. At least I kind of thought that. And I don't mind that. I just feel like that's the way our superstar is compared to the other ones. But when it comes to Jason Tatum, he's put already in that tier with those other guys. Like I feel like at times with Jokic and Anthony Davis, and I don't know where you put Anthony Davis anymore, but I guess Anthony Davis is probably below that. But then he's right there with Jokic now after winning a championship. So he's going to have that scrutiny. He's going to have that falling behind him, whether it's Bill Simmons or not. I just think he's going to have that. But when he comes on the court and he plays, I love Tatum now, kind of, I guess. I don't know why I even said that because I really
respect Tatum.
I just can't stand to watch the dude that much. I know he won the championship and he balled out. Jaylen Brown's, I've always liked him better. But I just can't stand to watch him play. So, and today's the reason why. It's ugly. It's just weird. I don't know. I can't stand it.
The funny thing about Jason Tatum, and this is something that I've been talking about, God, on this podcast for a long time, is I've always felt that he's overrated relative to the national media perspective that's being forced upon us on relative to him, if that makes any sense. Again, Dr. Funks and Hulas, got to try him out. I even got the little floats on them. Shout out to H4 tonight. Good seeing the Hilbert family. Love you guys. But when you look at Jason Tatum, he's somebody who's in Gatorade commercials. Champion. Guys, won a fucking title now. Like, mad props to Jason Tatum. But I'm with you. Like, there's something about Booker. And again, I'm looking at this 100% through the bias of a Suns fan. The sacrificial way in which Booker plays and which he put on display today against the South Sudanese team is just something that is a complete and utter classification as a glue guy. And Tatum, again, didn't play in the first game, played tonight, played okay, didn't look like a glue guy out there. Now, Booker, 22 total minutes played. He was 4 of 6 from the field and 1 of 3 from beyond the arc, 1 of 1 from the free throw line. Had 10 points, had 6 assists, and as you mentioned, Matthew, had 5 of those assists in the first half. I didn't see much of the second half. Shit, I don't know if Booker had any points in the first half. I didn't see him. I think he was 0 for 1 with 5 assists in the first half. So the fact that he ended up with 10 points and 6 assists, I mean, the definition of glue guy, and we'll get to it here momentarily in the subreddit stakeout, where we're going to have a special guest that we haven't seen for quite some time on. That was the observation of people around the country. And that's the fun thing about what's going on right now, is with all biases aside relative to your team, and you're just watching basketball, a lot of people are watching Devin Booker and saying, you know what, this guy is giving of himself to be the best possible teammate possible. Because in the first half, he had multiple opportunities to pull the trigger on three-pointers, to take runners in the lane, to take jumpers, and he passed to a guy who was even more open than he was to ensure the easy bucket. And that's why he had 5 of his 6 assists in that first half, because he was giving of himself. And people respect selfless basketball. I respect selfless basketball. It's something that was missing on the Phoenix Suns last year, was selfless basketball, ball movement, execution in the interior, all of the above. So to see Devin Booker do what he's doing in Paris is just, it's fun to watch, is it not?
Yeah, it's fun. It's like kind of relaxing at the same time.
It is.
You just kind of enjoy it. And I know you root for these guys and you want them to win, but when Book's on the floor, you just realize, like, damn, like, he has, I feel like, to try so hard with, you know, his limited athleticism and his length and stuff. You know, we always talk about that with him, but he tries so hard, and his craft is just so perfected.
It is.
Where it just out there, like, he's just not going to make the mistake. And, like, you can just see why they're starting him and why he's starting over Anthony Edwards and why this team likes him. And obviously we have Kevin Durant on this team and Bradley Beal on the Phoenix Suns, but this just goes for like the next 4 years. Who knows how long Kevin Durant's going to be here, or Bradley Beal. Other guys will see this, and other guys are playing with him right now.
Yes.
They're like, damn, like,
I want to play with that guy.
Yeah, I want that dude. I don't want to play with Anthony Edwards, the guy that was just an ISO the whole time. I want to play with Book.
I feel bad because I'm watching the Olympics through, again, the biases that a Phoenix Suns fan will watch it with. Again, talking about it on the Suns Jam Session podcast. But when I watch Anthony Edwards, God, the isolation ball. There was a play. I'm sitting here on playback, and I'm talking to myself about the isolation play he's running, and he ran down like 16 seconds of ISO ball, and eventually he had to pass out of it because it was a dead end. I'm like, shit, man, like, this isn't let's watch you dribble for 16 seconds. What makes this team effective is when they start to isolate the ball, or forgive me for not isolating the ball, when they start to move the ball around and find the open guy. And that's when the game looked easy to them. And that's what happened with this team for the most part of this game. And I feel bad watching it like that and going, God, Anthony Edwards passed the fucking ball. But then you go on Reddit, then you go on Twitter, and you go, okay, I'm not the only one across this entire world who thinks the same thing. This isn't coming from a Suns fan bias. It's coming from a basketball fan bias. It's like, yo, AE, pass the ball out, man. Like, there's guys cutting. Try to hit them. Stop trying to play hero ball when we're up 15 points. Just continue to fucking pour on the Avalanche, man. Your team fucking USA.
Yeah, you can kind of see that. So I feel like there are a few storylines heading into next year, like the Embiid one, the Tatum one, if he didn't play too much. But the Anthony Edwards one was obviously him coming in here and being the best two guard, him being Michael Jordan-esque, but also really being full of himself too. And I don't mind that. I don't care. I think it's really funny.
Yeah, have some ego, man. Be confident, right?
It's great. But now it's just kind of like, I don't know if it's working yet. Keep putting in the hard work. You're not that guy yet. So I hope, just for his sake, that he doesn't think he's there yet, because I also, like last playoffs, I predicted he would have a breakout playoffs, and he did, but it has to carry over now to the Olympics, to the season. And if you even want to go for the MVP next year, like there's things like that now, they're going to leak into his head, but it's just how he handles it on the court. So right now, to me, watching it, I think he's had some great plays, obviously, but he doesn't stand out in the way that I thought he would. But maybe it's just because it's obviously so many egos out there right now with him.
Well, and here's the funny thing is, Anthony Edwards, 17 minutes played off the bench, 13 points, 4 of 9 from the field, 2 assists, 1 rebound, 3 steals. He had a fucking fantastic game. And again, this is probably coming from a Suns fan bias where we feel there's a little too much isolation ball. The ball stopped with him. He's a more talented Kelly Oubre, all the little Suns things that we can throw in there. But I'm not overly impressed, and perhaps I recognize what it is. Like, I know it's the fact that I'm a Suns fan, and but I also recognize that there's some more opportunity to be a more team centric player, and
yeah,
because that's a great fucking stat line, dude.
Yeah,
if Devin Booker plays 17 minutes, 4 of 9 from the field, 13 points, 3 steals, like we're jacking off with Jergens and we're jerking, but our whole bag of Viagra isn't working.
Dude, we're Suns fans, but honestly, the LeBron James, Anthony Davis kind of duo pair in the first quarter, I think that's great, enjoyable basketball. It's like, well, are you going to pass it to anybody else? I mean, I don't care as long as it gets the job done. Like, they're playing stellar basketball. I'll root for that, and I'm going to love that. It's just, I don't care who's out there. And there's no real bias. I think it's just the way I watch the game and how I actually, just kind of critique these guys in a way. So.
Well, talking about critiquing the guys, let's talk about Steph Curry real quick. 21 minutes play starting for Team USA. Only 3 of points. Only 1 of 9 from the field. 0 of 6 from beyond the arc. He had 1 free throw and a 2-pointer. That made up his 3 points. 4 assists, 4 personal fouls. Steph Curry, did you think coming into this Olympic Games that this would be the Olympics of Steph Curry, his first time playing for the red, white, and blue in the Olympic forum? What are your thoughts on this?
No, I thought it was amazing that it was absolutely it was incredible to hear that it was his first time playing in the Olympics. I didn't think it would be his big Olympic 6-game smash, I guess. He'd come through, he'd be the number 1 guy.
This isn't 2016, is it?
Because you have to think about the way he's going to play on this team too. A shooter, right? I mean, that's basically what he's doing. I mean, he had the 4 assists today too, but he's just going to be there to knock down those big threes to really break open the lead. And tonight was just one of those nights he couldn't get hot. And that's what we're kind of afraid of with this whole team. It's just like, you're going to settle for threes. And if you're going to be cold, then you're just going to end up trying to dig yourself out of a hole, or else it's going to be a tight one towards the end of the game that you just have to hit those big shots to win the game. And right now it's just like everyone's playing so well to where he's just not as noticed as I thought he would be, but I didn't think he'd be ahead of Kevin Durant or LeBron James.
Yeah, I was interested to see how Curry would play. I never thought, I'm with you. I'll say that. I never thought this was going to be the Olympics of Curry. I think it would be a great experience for him. We get some insight to his experience, probably hanging out with Snoop Dogg, telling him what's going on, because Snoop Dogg's fucking everywhere in this Olympics.
Is he really? I haven't seen him. I mean, I saw him carrying the blunt, or was it a
motherfucker, dude? He's everywhere. He's at the fucking skateboarding final. He's at the gymnastics final with the family. Snoop, this is cool. And here's a side note. I don't understand why Snoop Dogg's everywhere. He should be everywhere in LA in 2028, because that's when the next
Olympic he will be too.
Well,
and then he'll be there in 3,000.
And real quick, too. I forgot to talk about this relative to Devin Booker. So just for shits and giggles, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play the Devin Booker drop one more time.
Big Dick Booker.
I just did that because I needed to pick my nose. Scott Lacey says in the chat, and Book's IG rolling around Paris, hanging out with skaters and stuff.
Yeah.
So good. The other side of this, and I didn't talk about this earlier, and it is in my notes. Seeing the Olympics through the eyes of Devin Booker is fucking cool. Like, he went to the skate final yesterday. Or 2 days ago. I don't know what fucking time it is.
I think it was yesterday.
Was it yesterday?
It might have been today.
I watched that whole skate final because, I used to be an aggressive skateboarder and rollerblader back
Wait, was
in
it
the day,
rollerblading or skateboard?
It was skateboard.
Oh, thank God. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think rollerblading in the Olympics.
I was like, there's no way there's rollerblading.
But, like,
right?
Booker's there. He's getting his picture taken with the female who won the all-around in skating. He's hanging out with Nigel. I forget his last name. That's how bad I am. But he's doing the cool. What I love about Book, he's carrying around his old school fucking camera, and if he's not playing, he's experiencing the Olympics the way it should be, the way I would if I was an athlete. And we're seeing it through his point of view. Like, Devin Booker's so fucking cool, Matthew. He's so fucking cool. He's the one guy who's walking around rocking a Team USA hat backwards, just rolling through Paris, wearing his fucking Converse or his Book ones. Yeah, Nyjah Houston. Thank you, Fabio. Nyjah Houston, who I believe ended up getting bronze in the skate final. The kid from Mesa, Jagger, forget his name, he got second place, and then a Japanese cat got it first with an amazing last final trick. But I mean, it was so good to watch. But Devin Booker's he's experiencing this Olympics. You got to remember, Devin Booker's first experience with the Olympics was Tokyo 2020, quote unquote, 2021. COVID restrictions, you're showing up, you're playing your sport, you're going back, there's restrictions. He is out there living, he's in the crowd, he's watching as many sports as he can, and he's sharing it with us via his IG feed. I think it's just so cool.
Yeah, he does everything awesome. And the whole video camera, him recording it, it's always the greatest to see that, because you really understand it's like his first time doing something. He wants to kind of just relive that eventually with his kids when he has them with one of the Kardashians. And they'll be like, oh, this is when I did this. This is why I didn't have you till I was 34,
he's going to hook
35.
up. He's going to hook up with an Olympic athlete. I guarantee you.
Well, I'm
that's
sure
the big thing, right? Olympic
right
athletes just hook up because they're the best athletes in the world. And they're all single. There's hooking up in the Olympic Village. He's out there just like he's going to get a wife out of it.
Oh, absolutely. And he's also out there, and I don't know if anybody even realizes who the hell he is, because he's just walking around. He's doing whatever the hell he wants, but he is behind the scenes. He's with all the other athletes. So obviously no one's going to really go up to him and be like, oh my God, Devin Booker. But it's kind of cool to see even the skateboard champ, the women's side of it. She did, or kids side of it, right? I think she's like 13 or 12 or something like that.
I don't know.
She posted something on like
she's
Twitter.
Like 3 feet tall.
Yeah, she posted something on Twitter that with him. I'm like, it's always just random things he does. It's like, I never know what the hell he's going to like pull out of his sleeve, or like even like, just meet and take pictures with. It's always just not like a normal athlete where they're at like the clubs or somebody's butt and they're just like,
although
taking a picture with next to someone's butt.
Kevin Durant's like dribbling a basketball at the club. You see that? Like,
yeah, but that wasn't a real basketball though.
No, but still.
And those ones make me depressed. Every time I see, I don't know.
Why are you at the club? Be at the skate park.
No, yeah. Like, Book makes me feel good. I'm like, oh, like when he's at the club, he's in a bathtub, and an empty bathtub just laying there because he's just so badass. Like, I don't want to do what Kevin Durant does. Like, that's just boring to me. Whatever Booker does,
he's fighting with people on Twitter while in Paris. It's hysterical.
Yeah, it's insane. And I think what Booker does is he's himself, and he doesn't care. Even if it is different, even if it is kind of weird maybe to other people, because I feel like we always appreciate who he is, and that's what just makes him him, man. Like, he just does not give a fuck, and that's awesome.
Who the heck are you?
I'm Kevin Durant. You know who I am. Y'all know who I am.
Did anybody see a sniper? Did anybody see anything?
I'm one of the best players to ever play the game.
Well, one of the best players to ever play the game once again came off the bench, played a total of 22 minutes. 2 of 5 from the field, 2 of 2 from beyond the arc, ended with 14 points, 8 of 9 at the free throw line, had 3 steals, 3 assists. Kevin Durant coming off the bench, like what a fucking amazing weapon that is for Team USA, is it not? Take that, Australia.
Yeah, hasn't missed a 3 yet, right? He's 6 of 6.
That's correct.
6 of 6 from 3, comes in the crowd. I don't think he screams for anybody louder than Kevin Durant. When
They
he comes
went
in,
nuts when he came in.
yeah, when LeBron comes in too, but you can tell it's not as loud as Kevin Durant. And that makes me feel good because I'm like, oh yeah, I forget he's one of the most celebrated basketball players ever to play the game, most known basketball player out there, and he's in Phoenix, obviously. So it just makes me feel good because you can tell he has so much joy out there playing this kind of game. So the pressure playing for US, obviously, I don't feel like is as high because he is surrounded by a lot of stellar players.
100%.
So I think he can just relax and play his game, and you can just see the feel of the body language, all that. It's a lot better. And we were so worried about injury. I don't even think about that anymore.
Yeah, there was a couple instances where I was kind of worried about it. There was a play where he went to the basket, kind of did the Euro step and fell around. I was like, oh, don't, like I said it a lot. I'm like, don't get injured, KD, not in the fucking Olympics. But I mean, he's easy money sniper. This is where he excels, is in the Olympics. Again, the all-time leading scorer in Olympic play. And he looked great again out there. And having him coming off the bench, God, what a luxury for Team USA. Looked fantastic. Again, doing some different things around Paris, going to the club with fake basketballs and bouncing them around and getting them Twitter fights. I mean, that's KD, right? Like, that's why.
Oh, so he was at the club with the fake basketball? Oh, so there was a new one. Because I remember there was an old one where he was.
No. I don't know if it was fake, but it looked like it was a real basketball, and he was dribbling around. It was late. They're like, it's 3 a.m. and KD's out here, dribbling the basketball.
Yeah, I would love to live his life too.
I wish Maya B was in the chat to tell us what her thoughts were on
Maya B.
Might be Katie's burner account.
She's in the club right now.
Yeah, they're in the club. But again, a great performance by him. Talking about other performances from Team USA, just to give you a recap in case you didn't happen to watch, LeBron James played 21 minutes as a starter, 5 of 9 from the field, 0 of 3 from beyond the arc. No daggers from LeBron James, but tied for a team high in rebounds with 7 rebounds. He also had 5 assists, 6 turnovers again. It's the second consecutive game where LBJ's got 6 turnovers, but ended with 12 points. So 12 assists, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. Is there anything from LeBron James you wanted to touch on in the victory over the South Sudanese team? No.
Unnoticed turnovers.
Anthony Davis, as we mentioned, got the start, was 4 of 7 from the field and only 19 minutes played, 8 points. And the reason AD only played 19 minutes is because Bam Adebayo, Beaumonte, as fucking Dwayne Wade will not stop fucking saying on this. Like, we get it, dude. Like, Dwayne Wade, real quick, needs to learn how to become an announcer. Like, if you got a shtick or you got a one-liner, you say it once and you carry the hell on. Have you ever been in a conversation with somebody and you throw a quick joke in there and then you just continue on with the conversation? And if you have 3 or 4 people around that circle of friends, or in this case, a podcast, who get the joke, they're like, oh, that was clever. That was funny. But you don't stop to explain the joke. Dwayne Wade doesn't know how to do that. He's got to stop and explain the joke and tell you why it's funny or relevant. He did it in the first game when he did the pronoun thing. He's like, he is him, he, him. And this one, he's like, his mom called him Bam Monte. I will call him Bam Monte. He said it like 4 times in the first half because, don't get me wrong, Bam Adebayo was great in this game. Like I said, 21 minutes played.
Yeah.
8 of 10 from the field, 2 of 3 from beyond the arc. Ended with a team high 18 points coming off the bench, had 7 rebounds, 5 of those on the defensive end, 2 on the offensive end. He had an assist, he had a steal, he had a couple blocks. Bam Adebayo had a great game, but Dwayne Wade just doesn't know that you just say something and carry the fuck on. He's like, in case you didn't hear me 2 quarters ago, his mother calls him Bam Monte. Like, yeah, dude, I heard you in the fucking third.
Yeah, you know what though? There's 2 things. So Bam, incredible game from what I heard because it was over and over and over again. The other thing is like he's newer with this, right? The announcing, like
yes, he's always been in the studio for TNT. He's never calling games.
Yeah, so I think that's the thing. When he hits on something he thinks that is really like going, then you're gonna keep going back to because you don't know what else to say. Because you heard a lot of silence from him too. You didn't hear much. I mean, from him at times. And Iron Eagle's son kept kind of pushing him a little bit. So that was one thing. But also, I think Bam's play, like you just knew that the athleticism, the way he is, like he would be really big.
He's so good for FIBA.
And yeah, I think he's great. And that was the one thing I mentioned last pod is like maybe that's why we have Embiid is because we need the extra center. But it would probably been fine with that Embiid. You just had Bam in there because every time I watch him, I just always remember the conversation of like, who's better, Bam or Aiden 2 years ago? Who's better? Like we
Oh
would
my
flip flop
God,
all the time, and it's just crazy that
that was a good narrative.
it's not even close now. So I don't think, obviously not.
Now, I will say something, and I annotated this in my notes. As we sit here and I bitch and I moan to you, the Jamster faithful, about the lack of a pillbox in the first quarter. I'm like, I don't know the fucking score. What is this, 1996? Are we waiting for Bob Costas to tell us the score? As we bitch about Dwayne Wade, talking about Bam Monte. There's an interesting comment that they had on the broadcast today, and it was the fact that they don't have indoor courts in South Sudan, in the whole country.
Wow.
So it's like, man, it's that constant reminder that we might take some things for granted. Like I lead off the podcast bitching about a pillbox. Like these guys who are competing on the Olympic level against one of the greatest teams ever assembled in basketball history. And that's a narrative that's going out there. Could this team beat the dream team? We don't know, but they have more talent. Like whatever. They're playing against competition that doesn't have an indoor basketball court in the entire fucking country. It's a reminder, and I'm just going to throw this out there, and probably because I had one too many of those Dr. Funks and of course light here, and perhaps because it's St. Ignatius of Loyola's Feast Day. Don't take your shit for granted. You know, I mean, in the modern world, here I am sitting in a room with a little camera in front of me and a computer, and I have the ability to put audio and video together to reach other people. We have 278 people watching this podcast live on multiple platforms. There's a lot of things that we have that others just simply don't. And I don't want to get all deep on you, but I will say this as somebody who was in the military and I went to basic training. I'll never forget what it felt like for 9 weeks to have everything taken away from you, every aspect of freedom. As in the military sense, they tear you apart and break you down and build you back up. That's the whole goal. And you shall become a soldier. You know, just it's a reminder that, like, especially in this day and age where it's so easy to hop online and fight with people and get frustrated with people who have differing point of views from you, because no point of view is one-sided. It's completely and utterly complex and complicated. You know, appreciate the fact that you can do that. Like, for Team USA, these are AAU guys or wherever their backgrounds come from. Even, you know, Kevin Durant, who comes from the rough and tough streets of the Washington, D.C. area to excel to be one of the greatest players in basketball history and probably the greatest Olympian we've ever had. Don't take for granted the fact that we have these little things, because you play against a team like Team Sudan, who only lost by 1 point to America in a showcase and ends up losing by 17 in an Olympic game. And they don't have a fucking indoor court in their entire country. But you know what? Karen down there at Costco has something to say on Facebook about how long it took at the checkout line, and somebody gives a shit, and 27 people are commenting on that. Random thought, but and a weird tangent, but I just thought I'd throw it out there. Like, just appreciate the little things, man. Be kind to people, man. You never know where people come from or how they're going through.
Yeah, I actually don't agree with any of that. I'm sorry. No, but I
What
just
an
think
asshole.
everyone just whatever situation you're in, you live with those problems that you have that surrounds you. So it's just, yeah, you can be very hard on other people and just gripe about stuff that doesn't matter, but that's the way we are.
Man.
We have what we have around us, and I think that I just don't agree, but whatever.
Well, on that note,
The Suns Jam Session Subreddit Stakeout.
USA. Where is she?
So
She's
glad.
in the USA. Hi, I am Batman. It's been a while since I've been on the Suns Jam Session podcast. But today, I was on the subreddit for the Team USA versus South Sudan game. And here is what was said. Rachel, where is she?
quick shout out to Creepy Crawly, who ironically says, just be a nice guy in the chat. of all the people to say, just be a nice guy.
Well,
you are
no one
probably-
ever is a nice guy. No
I'll
one,
tell you what, though.
people
Creepy
that
Crawly
say that
probably
are
is one of the
nice.
nicest people I know. He's
Yeah.
also one of the most sick, sadistic, sarcastic fucks I know.
It's
and
all
I love.
about love, everybody.
I
I
love
love
for
this
him.
one though. Shout out to Carrie Lake winning the primary.
Oh, she won the
That's all I
primary.
care about. I don't care about anybody and how homeless they are. I want to make sure that Carrie Lake wins.
I had somebody text me yesterday. And they're, hey, are you gonna go vote? I go, one. I thought the election was in November.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're like, no, the primaries. I'm like, well, I'm an independent, so I don't get a vote in the primaries. They're like, no, you can tell them to be a Republican. And then I'm like, it's 108 out, and it's 5 o'clock. I'm not going to the fucking
Yeah.
polls. I'll vote in November, just like everybody else, for Creepy Crawly.
All right, here's what was said on the subreddit.
I don't feel like the Batman voice is there, man. It's been a while.
No, it's there.
Where is she?
You just need a smoke machine.
Okay.
I think I figured out who I'm gonna do next year.
Oh, by the way, have you
Oh,
seen
my
Deadpool
impression.
Wolverine?
No, yeah. I think I'm gonna go next weekend, not this weekend, but the next.
Man, all right, I'll talk about that momentarily.
Well, don't spoil it. You gonna spoil it? I already heard Gambit's in it, but don't spoil anything.
Oh my God, yeah, Gambit's in. You have a tattoo of Gambit, don't you?
I do. Yeah, yeah.
Do you know who plays Gambit in this movie?
Jason Tatum, right?
Channing Tatum, yeah.
Channing
It's
Tatum, yep.
fucking amazing. I love Gambit. I think I told you that because I've seen the tattoo.
Yeah,
I'm a
Gambit's
huge
amazing,
Gambit
yeah.
fan. And it's so good. All right. These are the things that were said on the subreddit for the Team USA versus South Sudan game. Now it's interesting because normally we do the segment and it's typically we hang out on the opposing team subreddit, but South Sudan does not have a basketball subreddit for their games, let alone an indoor gym in their entire fucking country. So these are observations made by people on Reddit about the game today against South Sudan. And I'm assuming these are Americans.
Tatum should be perma-benched. Steve Kerr had it right before.
I think I'm talking too close to the mic. Am I not?
No,
Okay, cool.
it's good.
Tatum really got that. My mom complained to the coach start just to shit the bed.
So essentially, like he started today because so many people complained that he didn't play, and then he shit the bed. So that was funny.
Someone cut off Wade's mic, or else I'm giving him a 9. Dwayne Wade is such a bad announcer. He's making me want to be unpatriotic just because he's so annoying.
I didn't think he was that bad. I didn't.
Wayne hasn't made the pronoun joke this game, at least. Someone told him it's dumb as fuck.
Let's see here.
According to this thread, every player on the USA sucks. Y'all some hating ass losers. Get out more.
This is so true, right? Like you go on Reddit and everyone's just negative. They're like, "Oh, you fucking missed a
I
jump
know.
shot." Fucking,
I
yeah.
know.
Welcome to the
I
club,
might.
man.
I might not do it next year. It's just too negative. I had to go
What,
to
the subreddit
therapy,
stakeout?
dude. Yeah, I had to go to therapy for it.
Oh, it's really it's so
From it.
funny.
Yeah.
I think you just laugh
Out of
at it. Like
therapy.
people spend so much time doing this shit. This is a good one, and I agree with this one.
I finally get to cheer for Curry, and he's stinking it up.
I know that feeling.
Bam splashing threes, and Steph's grabbing boards. What the fuck is this? Bam better than Tatum. Who knew?
And then we have observations by people who are not Suns fans on Devin Booker.
Book is doing a good job distributing. Booker is having a defensive masterclass right now. Crazy how Booker isn't even looking to shoot. Dude doesn't even care about scoring at all. Great job by him changing the mentality. He just wants to win.
Where are these fucking comments during the season?
I love that.
I was down on Book,
And this is from a Timberwolves fan because people could put flair like on the yeah, all right.
I was down on Book before the tournament, but he's looked the best out of the starters outside of LeBron. Respect for him.
Wow, that feels good.
All right. And here's some good ones.
D White looks like he doesn't cuss. So nice of USA to give Embiid an international retirement tour. And probably, I mean, it's kind of fucked up, but that's why we do the subreddit stakeout. One of my favorite comments of the night from a Knicks fan, mind you. Can't wait for Ja Morant to be on the 2028 Olympics team. Shooting, not basketball.
The Suns Jam Session Subreddit Stakeout.
Thoughts on anything talked about during the subreddit stakeout?
No,
Matthew?
I love the Booker stuff. I really do. And equipment manager, fallen founder. Gambit is cool. No Cyclops, but my next favorite Cyclops is
I fucking hate Cyclops.
Square. Excuse me. I hate
Square.
Cyclops.
Square. Like he was the Raphael of the X-Men, right? He's just fucking
he's
lame and
just
too
him
serious.
and Jean Grey, and they would always
Yeah.
cry all the time, and everything would fucking hurt. It's like, oh,
Yeah, he's like, oh,
it's like,
jeez,
my
where's
God.
my sunglasses?
Yeah, save me.
I loved the X-Men growing up. Like I read all the comic books. I learned to draw from X-Men and Spider-Man comic books. Wolverine was my fucking favorite, dude. I loved Ending Gambit. I love those. You give me a piece of paper right now, just from muscle memory. I can draw Wolverine and Spider-Man and Gambit I will draw a Gambit better than your tattoo in like 10 seconds.
Well, my sister drew my tattoo.
Yeah, I can draw it better.
Are you sure?
I knew Gambit.
All right,
I could draw him.
Let me see.
Dude, I could draw it instantly, man. I got it
All
down,
right.
dude. I loved Gambit. He's great in this fucking movie. He's great in this fucking
All right, I
movie.
can't wait.
All right, well, let's hand out some hardware.
Jam star of the game.
Quick side note. Fuck me. I thought we'd only go 30 minutes on this one, Matthew. I
told you we're
honestly
not.
believe that.
I told you, no, yeah.
Well,
There's
I
no
had
way.
some Dr. Funks tonight.
So my jam star, you ask. I'm gonna give it to
Dude, if you say
Amani
Bam
Jones,
Monte.
dude. Amani Jones.
Bam Monte. I wish I had a drop right now for Dwayne Wade saying Bam Monte, but like we're not that advanced.
I wish if we were a Heat podcast, then we would definitely have that.
It would be
We
there.
need him to do something for Booker or KD. Maybe the he and him. I don't know. We could use that. He was doing that. He was using that for LeBron, right?
Yes, the him pronoun thing from Dwayne Wade was on LeBron. If by the way, if you happen to be watching along live, please let us know in the chat who your jam star of the game is. I agree with Matthew. It was Bam Monte. Bam Monte Jones. I mean, Bam Adebayo came in off the bench, 21 minutes played, as I mentioned before. He was 8 of 10 from the field and 2 of 3 from beyond the arc. And it's something we talked about on the playback.tv, Bright Side of the Sun, when we were watching the game, is how he is a great FIBA player. And he was forced down the depth chart because of Embiid. Like the reason Bam Adebayo had a great game tonight is because he wasn't the backup to the backup behind Embiid and AD. AD started, had an average game. It's okay. And Bam Adebayo, due to the way that he plays international ball, and he's athletic and he's big and he can shoot the three ball and he can stretch the floor and all these pluses, had an amazing game. And if you are Steve Kerr and you're looking at the next game, which is against Puerto Rico, which is a small team, there's no reason for Embiid to play against this team unless you want to sheerly build his confidence up and just like have him shoot little hook shots over somebody like me. Like, no offense to the Puerto Rico team, but their center's probably 6'3", which is more of a Matthew than me. You're what, 6'3", 6'4"? You 6'4"?
I'll go 6'4".
Okay, you're 6'4", so you're the center for Puerto Rico. Like, okay, Joel Embiid can go crazy on you, but Bamonte had an amazing game for Team USA coming off the bench. If you're a Heat fan, I'm sure you enjoyed that performance. You're like, finally, one of our guys. You wanted Tyler Hero to make the Olympics. He didn't, but you got Bam, and that's a great performance from him tonight.
Yeah, just incredible performance. Something that this team definitely needed to go in there, make sure that they get the victory, go up 2-0, have 4 points. We're
And a big
facing
point
Puerto
margin.
Rico with Devon Reed. Next,
Is Devon Reed on Puerto Rico?
Yeah, he is. With
Get the
Jose
fuck out.
Alvarado.
Number 32?
Yeah,
What
those
draft
two
was
guys.
that? Was that Josh Jackson
Jeez, I was
Jackson
excited
draft?
about Devon Reed.
I was too.
He so like built, I feel like, for the NBA.
University of Miami, bro. I'll never forget Devon Reed.
Yeah, second round, right? Wasn't he like number 54 or something? I don't know. But I know
He wore
he's
number
second
32.
Yeah, I was high on him, but now he's
I was
playing.
too. He's playing for
Vent.
Puerto Rico.
Did he play with Booker? Yeah, he did. I think he
Yeah.
was with the Isaiah Cannon crew.
Yeah, no, I think he was drafted with Josh Jackson. Like Josh Jackson was the first round pick, and Devon Reed was our second round pick that year. I think that's true because we watched that draft together. That's for sure.
Because I remember them jumping on the trampoline with their new uniforms. Yep.
Yeah, like it was what was that show that Jimmy Kimmel hosted? The Man Show. He was like the Man Show. He was jumping on the trampoline with beer.
The Man Show.
So yeah, next up for the Team USA, as you mentioned, we do play Team Puerto Rico. That will be Saturday morning. I'm sorry. You can join both Matthew and I on Bright Side of the Sun playback.tv. We will be doing a post-game podcast on that one as well. Excited for that game. Again, I'm surprised we got a whole hour out of Team USA. That's pretty impressive. I didn't think we'd get that, especially considering Matthew just listened to it, and every time he pulled his AirPods out, he uncomfortably had the game playing. And I only watched the first like 3/4 of the game. But yeah,
that just shows how much of this podcast is fake, and we just make up. We go on political rants.
Hey, happy St. Ignatius of Loyola Feast Day. Am I right, Matthew?
Oh yeah, I couldn't say it any better.
Well, on that note, Jamsters, reminder, subscribe, rate, and review. Hit that thumbs up button if you happen to be watching it on YouTube. And Matthew, tell them what to do.
Go home and love your Bamantes.
Bye.